Alrighty, welcome back. Another day working on the 38 pickup. Now, I had a comment on one of my videos from somebody who's doing a similar project with an Explorer chassis. I believe an earlier F100 truck or early F-Series pickup. I know these Explorers are pretty common. A lot of people are doing swaps on them. This is my second chassis swap on an Explorer. The person that commented requested a little bit more in detail on the wiring and how I go from the stock harness, which is right here. This is an extra harness that I have. This is a complete factory harness. This plug here is the 104 pin engine control module plug. This plug here plugs into the Ford Explorer harness. In this video, I'm going to show you how I go through, cut this off, label this, and get this ready to be wired in to any. And then at that point, you can wire it into anything. These systems are pretty universal on the older Explorers. These older computers, they don't need to talk to other computers in the car and compare serial numbers and VIN numbers and theft data and whatever. So you can take it out, do what I'm going to do, and you'll be ready to hook it up to anything. So let me show you how we do it. Okay, so the first step is getting a good set of schematics. I'm using AllData. I have the old AllData program from, I think it covers 1983 up through 2012, I think. 13, it gets into 13, but it's very limited on information in 13. Some 2012. Anyway, I have all the wiring schematics. It's everything. It's the whole entire program. So if anybody's interested in that, let me know, and I'll let you know how you can get it. So the first thing that I'm going to do, I printed out the pin chart for this plug. Now I'm losing this plug. I got to cut it off. The first thing that I need to do is figure out what each wire is in this plug. So the first step into that is to cut the plug off, verify the pin, the wire color, tag it, and put the circuit number on it. This doesn't give me a function, just a circuit number and a wire color and a pin location. So by this, I'm going to cut this plug off one at a time and tag each wire with the circuit number. Start with number 1. I'm going to start with pin 1, circuit 16. I set this over here where I can see it. Now you always want to double check. Pin 1, red with a light green. You're always looking at it this way. So pin 1 is this one, red with a light green. So what I'm going to do is cut that red with a light green. Just number 1. That is a red with a light green. I'm going to put a piece of tape on it like this. And put a piece of tape, circuit 16. I'll put 16. And then same thing, pin 2 is a tan with yellow. These are also numbered on the back side here also. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm just gonna sit here. I'm gonna go down the row, cut those off, and tag it with a circuit number, each one. Okay, I know it looks even worse now. All I've done is cut all these off, put a tag on it with the circuit number. Now, what I have to do, now I have to figure out what each one does. So now that I got this out of the way, I don't even need that page anymore. That connector is gone. So most of these here, obviously they go right into the computer plug. All the ones that go right here to the computer plug, I will be able to look at right here. So let's see, number 11. We got number 11. I want to look for circuit number 11. Number 11 right here. Tachometer. So for instance, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write tach on the back of this wire. Fuel sender, fuel tank pressure sensor, data link connector. So all this stuff up here I already labeled by just referencing the circuit number to this pinout chart. So there's a couple wires here, these ones here that are spliced up to the computer, 679, and I can see right here it goes straight to a splice. So I found it on the schematic. You can see here we have a 679 there, and this one, you can see this 116, that's the connector that was down here by the transmission. So connector 116, connector 116, this is the vehicle speed sensor, which is this guy right here, and the tail shaft of the transmission. Those two wires they go right up there to connector 115. Connector 115 was the one I cut off up here. And right here goes to connector 115. So I cut off from here, and then it goes to a splice. And from this, so it goes from this splice here, from that splice there, to connector 115, which is the connector I just cut off, to another splice, and then it goes up here this way to another splice, instrument cluster, gem. We're deleting all those. We're not going to have any of that stuff here. And then we're not going to have this speed control servo amplifier here. So this 679 needs to go from the computer to the vehicle speed sensor, which I know it does because this is the side that goes to the computer, and this side here goes down to the vehicle speed sensor. So this 679, since I almost lost my schematic. So that 679 here, since I'm not going to have any of the stuff that this was hooked to, this doesn't need to go anywhere but from the speed sensor to the computer. It doesn't need this. It doesn't need that leg of it to go over here. So that part's gone. Now this 676 here, this is the other side of it. Goes from the speed sensor, this pink one, pink and orange. It's a little faded down here because of the oil, but 676, it goes to a splice, and then it goes to connector 115, and it goes to connector 116. So from the speed sensor up to connector 116, which was the one on the side of the transmission that I deleted, and basically just cut on either side of the connector and wired that back together. So that side already goes up to the computer. The other side goes down here. This side, I believe, is already grounded. This, I don't believe this even needs to be in the loop. We're right here from the splice to connector 115, circuit 676. It's right here, connector 115 to the splice. The other one goes down to the speed sensor. The other one goes up to the computer. Don't need that. I will verify that the vehicle speed signal works with the scanner later when this thing is running and driving. I believe it needs that to make the transmission shift properly. So that will be one thing, you know, well, we will verify that that works later. But it should. Out of the computer to the splice, right back into the computer, it should be fine. So that circuit's done. That part's done and gone. Alright, 351 here. This actually does go to the powertrain module. 351, brown and white. Brown and white. Now it goes to a splice again. And then we follow this leg here. These lines, when they do like this, indicates a connector, that it goes through a connection. Connector C115, 351, and then it goes through. Look at all the connectors that one jumps through. And then it comes up to the fuel tank assembly, fuel tank pressure transducer. Okay, 351 brown with white. That's a 5-volt reference. I covered up my schematic. Okay, that is the 5-volt reference to the throttle position sensor, EGR valve position sensor. So I can cut 2 legs of that off right here, because I'm getting rid of this, and this. So I'm gonna leave that one for now because that splice is buried in the harness somewhere. I need to open this back up a little bit, so I know I can just delete this one. So I'm just gonna leave it there for a minute. Okay, circuit 16, I found it. I actually found it on this diagram first, right here. Circuit 16, red with a light green, comes from an interior fuse panel, which we don't have anymore. And it goes to this power diode, which is in power distribution box, which we don't have anymore. And then it ends. So I found this schematic, power distribution schematic for fuse 19. Goes to a connector, goes to a splice, and it goes to that power distribution block to the power diode. And then right here goes to connector 115. Now if it was a 4-liter V6, ignition coil and the capacitor on the 5.0, it would be this side. So this wire, the red and light green from this connector, goes to my coils. So this wire here needs to be 12-volt key on power for those components. So I'm going to label that one right now. Key on ignition coil power. Circuit 34. It goes to every single oxygen sensor. Goes to this splice here. Splice 142. Splice 142. Splice 142. So it goes here to the oxygen sensors. Connector 115. And then it goes to a fuse. This is key on oxygen sensor heater circuits. You have key on power to the oxygen sensor heaters. Okay, O2 heater, key on. Same with these, each one, brake on off, keep. EGR valve regulator, this goes right up here. I know it's never gonna have this wire, so I'm just gonna sneak down here and cut it off. Really careful not to cut the wrong stuff. And I don't want to cut it so far that I can't never get it back, but I don't want it in the way. EGR valve regulator, that's out of here. Oh, this is not going to come back off, is it? Tachometer. Overdrive indicator, fuel sender. There's all those O2s. DPFE, you're out of here. ML, fuel pump. Heated O2, you're out of here. Heated O2. Heated O2. Heated O2. All these are gone. I'll leave enough. I'll put a quick little tiny piece of heat shrink over each one of these just to be safe. Okay, let's see. That's a definite. Keep alive. Oh yeah, MIL control, malfunction indicator light, the check engine control, we're going to delete that. Fuel tank pressure, we're going to delete that. So we have vapor management valve, we're going to delete that one too. Fuel sender, maybe. Keep alive battery. Overdrive. I need to check that one. Trans control. Overdrive. Fuel pump. These are staying for sure. That's staying for sure. That's power. Brake on off stays. Vent solenoid, this goes. Oops. AC high pressure, this goes. Wide open throttle cutout for the AC, that goes. Air suspension inlet, that goes. And this one goes. That leaves us with brake on off. Fuel pump, relay control, keep alive. Alright, fuel pump monitor, data, power, ground, power. Alright, that's it. And this is what you end up with the exception of possibly I might cut 2 more of these off. So I'm not 100% sure if we need them or not. I don't think I do. But yeah, that's it. This is what we're going to be ending up with to hook up inside the truck. I'm going to go ahead and cap all these wires just so there's no way that one touches the other one and shorts the other one. Who knows what kind of problems you could have there. But so yeah, I'm going to do that. And then I'm just going to kind of pull this wire back and tidy everything back up. So alright, once you've cut off the wires, the circuits that you're not going to use anymore, there's really not a whole lot left here. These 3 are, this is start, alternator, and this is my main power to the fuses. So once they're all tagged, there's really not much to it. So the only thing you really have to make this thing run is these main grounds right here. This main power, this keep alive memory power, and you'll need key on for the coils, and you'll need O2 sensor heater power, and the rest of it is pretty much optional actually. You'll want to keep the data link connector so you can communicate with it, and the fuel pump control wire, and the fuel pump monitor wire. Other than that, that's really all you need. So I'm going to go ahead and loom this, wrap this up all the way up to here. I'm not going to loom this upper part until I put the cab on and get these wires situated where they fit through the cab like they're supposed to. So from this point, all I need to do is extend these 2 wires, run these 2 wires up in the loom. That way they get loomed in, and I'll leave them tied together like these 2 pairs, and that'll just be for the AC clutch. So all these, once this is inside the cab of the truck, it'll be all these wires with the tags on it is the only thing that I need to hook up. So it'll be a piece of cake. Piece of cake from here. All the hard work is done. Well, I ran out of electrical tape. I'll get this wrapped up in the morning, but I think I'm going to go ahead and call the video right here. I got about 2 days in the wiring so far over this last few days. All this stuff here is labeled, ready to go. This just needs to be tucked inside the cab and make sure that my clearance is all proper here, and then I'll be able to loom the rest of it. And then like I said, once I get inside, everything's already labeled. I know what it goes to, and it's just a matter of starting to hook up wires. So we'll be doing that in a whole nother video down the road. Next thing I got to do here is get the exhaust started and get the fuel lines done, and then I'm going to put this aside, and I need to body work the firewall and the dash and whatnot and get the cab ready to go back on. And once the cab is ready to go back on, it'll go on and it'll get all the controls hooked up, steering wheel, brakes. I'll make it start and run at that point, and then we'll carry on from there. Alright, well, that's pretty much the process that I use to label, identify, and figure out what the wires are in the harness there where they go to the truck. I'll weed out the stuff I'm not using. It ends up breaking down to very minimal stuff, and then it's all ready to go in the cab. Once the cab goes on and I get those wires all fitted nice through the hole in the firewall, then I'll loom that and make that all look nice. But until then, I'm going to leave that loose on the computer end until I get it in the cab. The rest of the wiring we'll do later once the cab is on, and we'll get that thing wired up and running. But until then, pretty much done with the wiring for now. So I hope that was helpful, and I'll catch you in a day or so on the next video. Get some exhaust. I think the exhaust is the next thing I'm going to work on. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next video.